The cleaning cart rattled as Tessa Brooks pushed it toward the elevator, her arms aching from 4 hours of scrubbing bathrooms on the 3rd floor of the Harrison Grand Hotel. She had exactly 30 seconds to get to the employee locker room before her shift ended, but her supervisor Janet intercepted her near the service corridor with a clipboard and an expression that meant trouble. "Tessa, I need you in my office," Janet said, already walking away without waiting for a response. Tessa followed, her stomach dropping. At 23, she had been working at the hotel for 2 years, saving every penny she could while living in a cramped studio apartment with her younger sister. Getting fired was not an option. She mentally reviewed the past week, searching for any mistakes that might have earned her this unexpected meeting. Janet's office was barely larger than a closet, wedged between the laundry room and storage. The older woman settled behind her desk and gestured for Tessa to sit in the folding chair across from her. "You are not in trouble," Janet said immediately, and Tessa exhaled. "Actually, this is good news. Maria is going on maternity leave starting Monday, which means we need someone to cover the penthouse floor for the next 3 months." Tessa blinked. The penthouse floor. The 32nd floor of the Harrison Grand was legendary among the housekeeping staff. Only 3 suites occupied the entire level, each one massive and luxurious beyond imagination. The tips alone could equal a week's wages. "The catch is that it requires discretion and professionalism," Janet continued. "The guests up there pay $20,000 a night minimum. They expect perfection and invisibility. You do your work and you do not engage unless spoken to first. No gossip, no photos, no mentioning who you see up there. Can you handle that?" "Yes," Tessa said quickly. "Absolutely." Janet studied her for a moment. "You have been reliable and thorough. Your work is good. That is why I am offering you this position instead of someone with more seniority. Do not make me regret it." "I won't, thank you. You start Monday morning, 6 a.m. sharp. Wear your newest uniform and make sure your shoes are spotless. Maria will train you for the first week, but she is leaving sooner than expected, so pay attention." Tessa practically floated home that evening. Her sister Lily was sprawled on their threadbare couch watching television when Tessa burst through the door. "I got assigned to the penthouse floor," Tessa announced, dropping her bag and collapsing next to Lily. Lily sat up, eyes wide. "No way. The penthouse floor? Tessa, do you know what this means? You could make enough in tips to actually have savings. Real savings, not just our emergency fund that we keep dipping into." "I know." Tessa grinned. "Maybe we can finally get you that laptop for college, and maybe I can stop eating ramen for every meal." They spent the evening imagining all the possibilities, the financial breathing room that had seemed impossible just hours earlier. Tessa went to bed feeling lighter than she had in months. Monday morning arrived cold and gray. Tessa took extra care with her appearance, making sure her dark hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and her uniform was pressed perfectly. She arrived at the hotel 40 minutes early and spent the time reviewing the employee handbook section on VIP guest services. Maria met her at the service elevator at precisely 6 a.m. The older woman was 8 months pregnant and moved slowly, one hand pressed to her lower back. "You are Tessa, right? Okay, good. Let me tell you right now, this floor is different, completely different from anything you have done before. The guests up here, they are not normal people. They are business tycoons, celebrities, foreign diplomats. We have had princes up here. Actual royalty. You are going to see things and hear things, and all of it stays in your head. Understood?" "Understood," Tessa said. The service elevator opened directly into a private hallway on the 32nd floor. The carpeting was thick and cream-colored, probably worth more per square foot than Tessa's monthly rent. Crown molding lined the ceiling, and crystal sconces provided soft lighting. Everything smelled like expensive cologne and fresh flowers. "Right now, we only have 2 of the 3 suites occupied," Maria explained as they walked. "Suite 3201 is empty and getting deep cleaned this week. Suite 3202 has a family from Dubai. Very nice, very generous. They leave in 2 days. Suite 3203 is our permanent resident." Permanent resident? Ivan Hawthorne. He owns the penthouse suite, bought it outright 5 years ago for $23 million. He lives here full-time. Tessa nearly tripped over her own feet. $23 million for a hotel suite. She could not even comprehend that amount of money. "What does he do?" Tessa asked. "Real estate development. Commercial properties all over the country. He is worth close to $800 million according to the business magazines. Maybe more now. He keeps to himself mostly. Very particular about his space. He does not like small talk, so just clean efficiently and get out. He is usually gone by the time we arrive anyway." They spent the morning going through the specific protocols for the penthouse floor. The cleaning supplies were higher quality. The linens were changed daily regardless of use, and every surface had to be spotless. Maria showed her how Mr. Hawthorne liked his suite arranged, the exact angle of the throw pillows on his couch, the specific way he wanted his newspapers stacked on the breakfast table. "He notices everything," Maria warned. "One time I moved a book on his nightstand half an inch and he mentioned it the next day. He does not get angry, but he notices." Tessa absorbed every detail, taking mental notes. This assignment could change everything for her and Lily. She could not afford to mess it up. For the next week, Maria trained her thoroughly. They worked together each morning, starting with Suite 3203 when Mr. Hawthorne was out at business meetings. Tessa never saw him, though evidence of his presence was everywhere. Expensive suits hung in the massive closet. His bathroom counter held designer cologne and a straight razor that looked like it cost more than her car. Books were stacked everywhere, mostly business volumes and architectural texts, but also fiction. She noticed he was reading 3 different novels simultaneously, bookmarks placed at various points in each. The suite itself was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city skyline. The living room alone was larger than Tessa's entire apartment. Modern art hung on the walls, pieces she suspected were originals worth hundreds of thousands. The kitchen had appliances she did not even recognize. Everything was decorated in shades of gray, black, and cream, masculine and elegant. On her second Friday, Maria went into early labor. Janet called Tessa at 5 in the morning to tell her she would be covering the penthouse floor alone from now on. Tessa arrived at 6, heart pounding. This was it, her chance to prove she could handle the responsibility. She started with Suite 3202, where the family from Dubai had already checked out, leaving an envelope with $300 in cash as a tip. Tessa stared at the money, overwhelmed. $300 for 1 week of cleaning 1 suite. She moved on to Suite 3203, using her key card to enter quietly. The suite was dark and silent. She began her routine, working methodically through each room. The bedroom door was closed, which was unusual. Maria had said Mr. Hawthorne was always gone by 6 a.m. Tessa cleaned the kitchen and living room, then hesitated outside the bedroom door. She checked her watch. 6:45. She had to finish before the other early shift staff needed the service elevator. Very carefully, she knocked softly on the bedroom door. No response. She opened it a crack and peeked inside. The massive bed was empty, already made with military precision. She relaxed and entered, beginning to dust and vacuum. She was wiping down the windows when she heard the suite door open. Tessa froze. No one had ever come back while she was cleaning. She stayed perfectly still, hoping whoever it was would just pass through. Heavy footsteps crossed the living room, then stopped. "Hello?" a male voice called. Deep, authoritative. Tessa set down her cleaning cloth and walked out of the bedroom on shaky legs. A man stood in the living room, pulling off his suit jacket. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair and the kind of strong features that belonged on magazine covers. His white dress shirt was rolled up at the sleeves, revealing tanned forearms. He looked to be in his early 30s, successful and confident in the way only truly wealthy people could be. This had to be Ivan Hawthorne. "I am so sorry, Mr. Hawthorne," Tessa said quickly. "I am almost finished. I will be out of your way in just a few minutes." He looked at her with dark eyes, his expression unreadable. "You are not Maria. Maria had her baby. I am Tessa Brooks. I am covering her position for the next few months." He nodded once. "Fine, finish what you need to do." He disappeared into his office without another word. Tessa rushed through the rest of her duties, her hands trembling slightly. She finished the bedroom in record time, then quietly let herself out of the suite. Over the next several weeks, Tessa settled into a routine. She arrived at 6 every morning and methodically cleaned both occupied suites. She rarely saw Mr. Hawthorne. Once or twice a week he would still be in the suite when she arrived, working in his office with the door closed. She learned to work around him, finishing everything except the office and leaving. She also learned things about him through the traces he left behind. He drank his coffee black and went through at least 2 pots a day. He ate breakfast at home but rarely dinner. He worked constantly, often leaving stacks of contracts and blueprints spread across his dining table. He received fresh flowers every Monday, expensive arrangements that he kept in the living room. He wore only designer suits, perfectly tailored. His gym bag was always by the door, which meant he worked out before 6 a.m. every single day. Most notably, he was alone. Tessa never saw evidence of a girlfriend or wife. No women's clothes, no makeup in the bathroom, no romantic dinners for two. Just Ivan Hawthorne and his immaculate, lonely penthouse. The tips were extraordinary. Every Friday, he left an envelope on the kitchen counter with $500 cash. After just 1 month, Tessa had saved more money than she had in the entire previous year. She bought Lily the laptop she needed for her college courses. She paid off her credit card. She started actually cooking real meals instead of living on instant noodles. On a Tuesday morning in early spring, Tessa was cleaning the kitchen when Mr. Hawthorne emerged from his bedroom earlier than usual. She tensed, ready to apologize and leave, but he walked directly to the coffee maker she had just finished brewing. "Thank you for making the coffee," he said, pouring himself a cup. Tessa blinked. It was the first time he had spoken to her beyond basic pleasantries in 6 weeks. "Of course, Mr. Hawthorne." He took a sip, leaning against the counter. He wore sweatpants and a t-shirt, which was startling. She had only ever seen him in business attire. His hair was slightly damp from a shower. "Maria used to burn it," he said. "This is better. I will make sure to keep it consistent." He nodded and took his coffee back to his office, closing the door. Tessa stood there for a moment, unreasonably pleased by the small interaction. The seasons began to change. Tessa continued her morning routine, becoming increasingly efficient. She learned exactly how Mr. Hawthorne liked everything arranged. She started anticipating needs before they arose, restocking his preferred coffee beans before he ran out, replacing light bulbs before they died, coordinating with the concierge to have his dry cleaning delivered at optimal times. Janet praised her work. The other housekeeping staff asked her questions about the mysterious penthouse floor. Lily finished her first semester of college with excellent grades. Everything was going well, but Tessa found herself thinking about Ivan Hawthorne more than she should. She told herself it was just professional interest, just wanting to do her job well. But she noticed things. The way he was always working, always busy, never resting. The fact that he seemed to have no personal life whatsoever. The occasional exhaustion in his face when he thought no one was looking. One morning in late April, she arrived to find him asleep on his couch, still wearing his suit from the previous day. His laptop was open on the coffee table, displaying what looked like architectural renderings. Papers were scattered everywhere. He had clearly worked through the entire night. Tessa stood there uncertainly. She should leave and come back later, but she had other suites to clean and her schedule was tight. Very quietly, she began picking up the papers, stacking them neatly on the dining table. She cleaned around him as silently as possible. She was in the kitchen when she heard him stir. She looked over to find him sitting up, disoriented, running a hand through his disheveled hair. "What time is it?" he asked, his voice rough with sleep. 7:30, Tessa said quietly. He swore under his breath and stood, immediately reaching for his phone. "I have a meeting at 8. I made coffee, and there are clean towels in your bathroom if you need to shower quickly." He looked at her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. "Thank you, Tessa." It was the first time he had used her name. She felt an absurd flutter in her chest. He disappeared into his bedroom and emerged 20 minutes later looking perfectly put together, all traces of his exhausted night erased. He grabbed his briefcase and coffee and headed for the door, then paused. "The suite looks good. You do excellent work." Then he was gone, leaving Tessa standing in his kitchen with a smile she could not quite suppress. After that, their interactions increased slightly. He started acknowledging her when their paths crossed, asking brief questions about her day or commenting on the weather. Nothing personal, nothing inappropriate, just the kind of small talk employers made with staff they saw regularly. But Tessa began to feel like he actually saw her now, not just as the invisible cleaning woman, but as a person. She caught him watching her work sometimes, a thoughtful expression on his face. In May, a situation arose with Suite 3201. A celebrity had trashed the place during a weekend party, and Janet assigned Tessa to handle the deep cleaning with 2 other staff members. It took 3 full days to restore the suite to acceptable condition. Tessa worked 12-hour shifts, exhausted and frustrated by the disrespect the guest had shown. On the 3rd evening, she was finishing the final touches alone, the other staff members having left for the day. She was on her hands and knees scrubbing a stain out of the carpet when she heard someone enter. "You are still here." She looked up to find Ivan Hawthorne standing in the doorway. He had loosened his tie and carried his suit jacket over one arm, clearly just returning from work. Tessa sat back on her heels. "Almost done. This suite has been a nightmare." "I heard about that guest. I spoke to hotel management. He is banned from the property." "Good." Ivan walked into the suite looking around at her work. "You have been here for 3 days straight." "Someone had to fix it. You should not have to clean up after people who have no respect for others' property or labor." He sounded genuinely angry on her behalf, which surprised her. Tessa stood, brushing off her knees. "It is part of the job. That does not make it acceptable." He met her eyes, and for the first time, she noticed gold flecks in his dark irises. "You work harder than anyone I have ever met, including in my own companies." She felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne." "Ivan," he said. "You can call me Ivan." Tessa's heart did something complicated in her chest. "Ivan," she repeated softly. They stood there for a moment, something unspoken hanging between them. Then Ivan cleared his throat. "You should go home, get some rest." "Right, yes, have a good evening." She gathered her supplies and left, her thoughts spinning. Something had shifted between them, some invisible line had been crossed. She was not sure what it meant, but it felt significant. June arrived with summer heat and increased tourism. The hotel was fully booked, and Tessa found herself working extra hours covering other floors when staff called in sick. She still prioritized the penthouse floor, still maintained Ivan's suite with meticulous care, but she was exhausted. One Friday morning she arrived at Ivan's suite to find him in his kitchen making breakfast. This was unusual. He normally ate at business meetings or not at all. "Good morning," he said when she entered. "Have you eaten?" Tessa blinked. Not yet. I usually eat after my shift." "Sit down." "I made too much food. Mr. Hawthorne, I really should not." "Ivan," he corrected, "and I am not asking as your employer. I am offering breakfast to someone who works too hard and probably skips meals. Sit." The commanding tone left no room for argument. Tessa set down her cleaning supplies and sat at the kitchen island. Ivan placed a plate in front of her with scrambled eggs, bacon, and toast. It smelled incredible. "Thank you," she said quietly. He sat across from her with his own plate. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Tessa could not remember the last time she had eaten breakfast at a table instead of grabbing something portable on her way to work. "How is your sister doing?" Ivan asked suddenly. Tessa looked up in surprise. "How did you know I have a sister? You mentioned her once. A few months ago. You were on the phone with her when I came home early." She had no memory of this, but apparently he had been paying more attention than she realized. "Lily is doing great. She is finishing up her freshman year of college. She wants to be a teacher." "That is admirable." "Is she at the state university, community college right now? We are saving up so she can transfer to a 4-year school." Ivan nodded thoughtfully. "You are putting her through school." It was not a question. Tessa shrugged. "Our parents died when I was 20, car accident. Lily was only 15. I am all she has. That is a lot of responsibility to take on so young. She is worth it. She is smart and kind, and she is going to do amazing things. I just need to make sure she has the opportunity." Ivan studied her with an intensity that made her squirm. "You are remarkable, Tessa Brooks," she laughed, uncomfortable with the praise. "I am just doing what anyone would do." "No, most people would not. Most people would have made different choices, easier choices. You are remarkable, and you should accept the compliment." Their eyes met, and Tessa felt that flutter again, stronger this time. There was something in the way he looked at her, like he truly saw who she was beneath the uniform and the service role. "I should get to work," she said, standing abruptly. "Thank you for breakfast." "Tessa," he said as she started gathering her supplies. She turned back. "If you or your sister ever need anything, let me know. I mean that." "That is very kind, but we are okay. The offer stands." She nodded and escaped into the safety of her cleaning routine, her heart pounding. What was happening between them? Was she imagining the connection she felt? He was a billionaire who lived in a penthouse. She was a housekeeper barely making ends meet. This could not go anywhere, should not go anywhere. But she could not stop thinking about the way he had looked at her across the breakfast table. Over the next few weeks, Ivan started being home more when she cleaned. He would work in his office with the door open or sit in the living room reading contracts. They fell into an easy pattern of conversation, small talk that gradually became more substantial. She learned that he had built his fortune from nothing, starting with a single rental property he bought at 22 and growing his portfolio aggressively. He worked 16-hour days because he loved what he did, because building something from nothing gave him purpose. She told him about growing up in a small town, about her parents' death, about the struggles of taking custody of a teenage sister while barely being an adult herself. She told him things she had never told anyone, and he listened with genuine interest. She knew she was falling for him. It was a terrible idea, completely inappropriate, but she could not help it. He was brilliant and driven, but also kind in ways that surprised her. He noticed when she was tired and made sure she took breaks. He asked about Lily's progress in school. He made her coffee when he made his own. Small gestures that probably meant nothing to him but meant everything to her. In early July, Janet called Tessa into her office. "Maria is not coming back," Janet said without preamble. "She decided to be a stay-at-home mom, which means the penthouse position is yours permanently if you want it." Tessa should have been thrilled. This was job security, guaranteed income, continued access to those generous tips. But all she felt was anxiety. "Can I think about it?" she asked. Janet looked surprised. "I suppose so, but I need an answer by the end of the month. If you do not want it, I need to reassign someone else." Tessa agreed and left the office, her thoughts turbulent. The problem was not the job. The problem was Ivan. Her feelings had grown too strong, too complicated. Seeing him every day, being in his space, sharing these moments of connection that probably meant nothing to him but everything to her. It was becoming painful. She needed distance. She needed to protect herself before she got hurt. That night, lying in bed, she made a decision. She would turn down the permanent position and request a transfer back to the regular floors. It would mean less money, but also less heartache. She could move on, forget these confusing feelings, get back to her normal life. The decision should have brought relief. Instead, it felt like grief. She continued working through July, still cleaning Ivan's suite every morning. He seemed to sense something had changed. He asked if she was okay, if something was wrong. She assured him everything was fine, and continued maintaining the careful distance she was building between them. On July 28th, she submitted her formal request to Janet for a transfer back to the regular floors. Janet was disappointed but accepted the decision. The transfer would be effective August 1st. Maria's permanent replacement would start the following Monday. Tessa did not tell Ivan. She could not figure out how to explain her reasons without revealing feelings that had no place in their professional relationship. She decided to simply finish out the week and disappear from his life as quietly as she had entered it. Her last day arrived. Friday, July 31st. She cleaned Ivan's suite with extra care, making sure everything was perfect for whoever replaced her. She left detailed notes about his preferences and routines. She told herself this was for the best. She was doing a final check of the bedroom when she heard Ivan come home. She glanced at her watch. 3 in the afternoon. He never came home this early. "Tessa," he called. She walked out to find him standing in the living room, still wearing his suit, his expression strange. "Hi," she said, suddenly nervous. "I was just finishing up. I am actually done early today since it is your last day." She froze. "How did you know?" Janet mentioned it. "She was asking if I had any complaints about your work that led to you requesting a transfer." His voice was carefully neutral. "I told her your work was impeccable, and I had no complaints whatsoever, which made me wonder why you would request a transfer from a position that pays significantly more than the one you are moving to." Tessa could not meet his eyes. "I just thought it was time for a change." "That is not a reason. It is my reason." "Tessa, look at me." She forced herself to meet his gaze. His dark eyes were intense, searching. "Did I do something to make you uncomfortable? Did I cross a line?" "No," she said quickly. "No, Ivan, you have been nothing but kind." "Then why are you leaving?" She could not tell him the truth. She could not humiliate herself like that. "I just need to move on, that is all." He took a step closer. "I do not believe you." Well, I am sorry, but that is all the explanation you are getting. She tried to move past him toward the door, but he caught her arm gently. Tessa, please, just tell me the truth. She spun to face him, frustration and heartache boiling over. You want the truth? Fine. I am leaving because I have feelings for you, okay? Feelings that are completely inappropriate and unprofessional. Feelings that make it impossible to work here anymore because every day I am around you, they get stronger and I cannot. I just cannot do this anymore. The words hung between them. Ivan's expression shifted through several emotions too quickly for her to track. His hand was still on her arm, warm through the fabric of her uniform. You have feelings for me, he repeated slowly. Tessa pulled her arm free, humiliated. I am sorry. I know that is wildly inappropriate. I will finish out today and you will never have to see me again. I apologize for making things awkward. She turned to leave, but Ivan moved faster. He caught her hand and pulled her back, and suddenly his other hand was cupping her face and he was kissing her. Tessa went rigid with shock, then melted into it. His lips were firm and warm, the kiss somehow both gentle and desperate. Her hands came up to grip his shirt, anchoring herself as her entire world tilted. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. His forehead rested against hers. You think your feelings are inappropriate, he said roughly. Tessa, I have been half in love with you for months. I wake up looking forward to seeing you. I find excuses to come home early just to talk to you. I notice everything about you, every detail. The way you bite your lip when you are concentrating. The way you sing quietly to yourself when you think no one is listening. The way you care about doing everything perfectly, not for recognition, but because it matters to you. Tessa's heart was pounding so hard she thought it might explode. You? What? I did not say anything because of the power dynamic. You work for the hotel and I did not want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable. I was trying to be professional to keep my distance. But then you were leaving and I realized I could not let you walk out of my life without telling you the truth. Ivan. She did not even know what to say. This was everything she had wanted and nothing she had expected. I know this is complicated, he continued. I know there are obstacles. But I am asking you to give this a chance. Give us a chance. Do not leave because you think your feelings are one-sided. They are not. Tessa pulled back enough to look up at him. His eyes were sincere, vulnerable in a way she had never seen. I do not know if I can keep working here if we are. Whatever this is, then quit. I will hire you to work for one of my companies, or do not work at all. I have enough money for both of us and your sister and anyone else you want to support. I do not care about any of that. I just care about you. That is insane. I cannot just quit my job and let you support me. We barely know each other. Then let's fix that. Have dinner with me tonight. Tomorrow, take the transfer if you still want it, but do not take it to run away from this. Take it because it is what you genuinely want. Tessa's mind was racing. This was crazy. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not real life. Wealthy men did not fall for housekeepers who cleaned their suites. But Ivan was looking at her like she was the most important thing in his world, and she could feel the sincerity radiating from him. Okay, she whispered. Dinner. One dinner. The smile that broke across his face was brilliant, transforming his usually serious expression into something boyish and joyful. One dinner. That is all I am asking for. He kissed her again, softer this time. And Tessa let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, this could actually work. That evening, Ivan took her to an expensive restaurant on the top floor of another downtown hotel. Tessa wore the nicest dress she owned, which was still painfully cheap compared to everything else in the establishment. But Ivan looked at her like she was the most beautiful woman in the world. They talked for hours, about everything and nothing. Their childhoods, their dreams, their fears. Ivan told her about growing up poor, about his abusive father and absent mother, about clawing his way up from nothing through sheer determination. She told him about the weight of responsibility she had carried since her parents died, about the constant fear that she was not doing enough for Lily. "You are doing more than enough," Ivan said, reaching across the table to take her hand. "You gave up your youth, your freedom to raise your sister. You work yourself to exhaustion to give her opportunities. You are incredible, Tessa. I hope you know that." By the end of the night, Tessa knew she was completely, irrevocably in love with him. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. When Ivan drove her home, he walked her to her apartment door. The contrast between his expensive car and her run-down building was stark, but he did not seem to notice or care. "Can I see you tomorrow?" he asked, still holding her hand. "I have to work tomorrow, and I am on the regular floors now, remember? I will be busy all day. Then tomorrow night. And the night after that, and every night you will give me," Tessa laughed. "You are very intense. Has anyone ever told you that? Only in business negotiations. This is different, though. This matters more." He kissed her goodnight, a slow, sweet kiss that left her dizzy. When she finally made it inside, Lily took one look at her face and demanded to know everything. "I think I am dating Ivan Hawthorne," Tessa said, still dazed. "Wait, the Ivan Hawthorne, the millionaire whose suite you clean, billionaire, technically, and I do not clean his suite anymore. I transferred back to the regular floors. Because of him, it is complicated." Lily grabbed her hands, eyes shining. "Tessa, this is amazing. He is gorgeous and rich and apparently into you. How is this a problem?" "Because it feels like a fairy tale, and fairy tales are not real. Real life is complicated and messy, and I do not know how to navigate this. So figure it out as you go. You deserve something good, Tessa. You have sacrificed so much for me. Let yourself be happy." Over the next few weeks, Tessa and Ivan fell into a relationship that felt both natural and surreal. He took her to nice restaurants and shows. They spent evenings in his suite talking and watching movies. He met Lily and immediately charmed her by asking intelligent questions about her studies and genuinely listening to her answers. The hotel staff figured out they were dating within days. Tessa braced herself for gossip and judgment, but mostly people were happy for her. Even Janet pulled her aside to say that Ivan Hawthorne was a good man, and Tessa deserved good things. The first time Tessa stayed over at Ivan's suite, she was nervous. The physical intimacy was new territory, weighted with meaning and vulnerability. But Ivan was patient and attentive, making sure she felt comfortable and cherished. Afterward, lying in his arms in his enormous bed, she felt safer than she had in years. "I love you," Ivan said into the darkness. "I know it is fast and maybe I should not say it yet, but I do. I love you, Tessa." Tears pricked her eyes. "I love you too." August turned into September. Tessa continued working at the hotel, though Ivan repeatedly offered to support her financially if she wanted to quit or go back to school. She was not ready for that yet. She needed to maintain some independence, some sense of herself outside of their relationship. But she did let him help with Lily's education. When he found out Lily was planning to stay at community college for another year to save money, he quietly paid off her tuition at the state university and arranged for her acceptance mid-semester. Lily cried when she found out, and Tessa did not know whether to kiss him or yell at him for overstepping. "I know you value your independence," Ivan said when she confronted him about it. "But Lily's education matters to you, which means it matters to me. Let me do this, please." How could she argue with that? She let him have his way, and Lily thrived at the university. In October, Ivan invited Tessa to a charity gala his company was sponsoring. It was her first major public appearance with him, and she was terrified. She did not know how to navigate high society events. She did not own appropriate clothing. She was going to embarrass him. Ivan took her shopping and bought her a dress that cost more than 3 months of her rent. She protested, but he insisted. "I want you there with me," he said firmly. "And I want you to feel confident and beautiful, which you are already, but a good dress does not hurt." The gala was overwhelming. Hundreds of wealthy people in designer clothes, drinking expensive champagne and discussing business deals worth millions. Tessa clung to Ivan's arm, trying not to panic, but Ivan never left her side. He introduced her to everyone as his girlfriend, not hiding their relationship or diminishing her role in his life. When she stumbled over conversation with a real estate mogul, Ivan smoothly redirected the discussion to include her perspective on urban development's impact on working-class neighborhoods. He valued her insights, made sure others did too. By the end of the night, Tessa had relaxed enough to actually enjoy herself. Ivan pulled her onto the dance floor and they swayed together to slow music, ignoring everyone else. "You were incredible tonight," he murmured into her hair. "I was terrified tonight. You did not show it. You were poised and intelligent and so beautiful I could barely concentrate." She pulled back to look at him. "How are you real? How is this real? I ask myself the same thing every day. I keep expecting to wake up and find out you were a dream." They kissed there on the dance floor, and Tessa stopped caring what anyone thought. This was real. They were real. November brought colder weather and discussions about Thanksgiving. Ivan wanted Tessa and Lily to spend the holiday with him. Tessa agreed, though she insisted on cooking rather than hiring caterers. The three of them spent Thanksgiving in Ivan's suite, eating turkey and watching football. It felt like family. It felt like home. "I have never had a real Thanksgiving," Ivan admitted over dessert. "My childhood holidays were not exactly Norman Rockwell material. This is the first time I have felt like I was part of something good." Lily reached over and squeezed his hand. "You are part of our family now, whether you like it or not." Ivan's eyes met Tessa's, warm and full of emotion. "I like it very much." That night, after Lily had gone home, Ivan pulled Tessa onto the couch and wrapped his arms around her. "Move in with me," he said. Tessa's heart skipped. "What? Move in with me? You are here most nights anyway. I want you here all the time. I want to wake up with you every morning and fall asleep with you every night. I want this to be our home, not just my place that you visit." "Ivan, that is a huge step." "I know, but I love you and I am sure about this, about us. I have never been more sure of anything." Tessa thought about her cramped studio apartment, about how much easier life would be if she lived here. But more than that, she thought about how much she wanted this, wanted to build a life with him. What about Lily? I cannot just leave her alone. So she moves in too. Or I buy her an apartment near campus. Whatever works best for both of you. I just want you with me, Tessa. Everything else we can figure out. Lily ended up choosing to live in a dorm on campus, which Ivan paid for. Tessa moved into the penthouse suite in early December, bringing her modest belongings into Ivan's expansive space. It felt surreal, unpacking her clothes into his enormous closet, arranging her books on his shelves. But it also felt right. This was where she belonged. Living with Ivan was an adjustment. He worked constantly, taking calls at all hours and disappearing into his office for days at a time. But he also made time for her, prioritizing their relationship even when business demanded his attention. They fell into comfortable routines, cooking together when he was home, talking about their days, supporting each other through stress and challenges. Tessa quit her job at the hotel in January. It was time. She had been working since she was 16, and Ivan was right that she needed a break to figure out what she actually wanted to do with her life beyond just surviving. She started taking online classes, exploring interests she had never had time for: art history, creative writing, business management. Ivan encouraged her to try everything to find her passion. In February, on the anniversary of the day they had first kissed, Ivan took her to an expensive restaurant overlooking the city. Tessa wore a blue dress he had bought her for Christmas. They ordered wine and appetizers and talked about their plans for the upcoming year. After dessert, Ivan reached across the table and took her hand. His expression was serious, nervous in a way she rarely saw. "Tessa, this past year with you has been the best of my life. You have changed everything for me. Before you, I was just working, just building wealth for the sake of building wealth. I had no purpose beyond success. But you gave me purpose. You showed me what actually matters." He stood and came around the table, and Tessa's heart started pounding because she suddenly knew what was happening. Ivan knelt beside her chair and pulled out a small velvet box. Inside was a ring, a stunning diamond that caught the light and sparkled like captured stars. "Tessa Brooks, will you marry me? Will you let me spend the rest of my life making you happy? Will you build a future with me, build a family with me, build a life that actually means something?" Tears were streaming down Tessa's face. Everyone in the restaurant was watching, but she did not care. All she could see was Ivan, this brilliant, intense, wonderful man who loved her completely. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, of course, yes." He slid the ring onto her finger and kissed her, and the restaurant erupted in applause. Tessa laughed through her tears, overwhelmed by joy and love, and the impossibility of how her life had transformed. They were married in May in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Lily was Tessa's maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Ivan's business partner served as his best man. They exchanged vows on the rooftop of the Harrison Grand Hotel, overlooking the city where they had met. "I promise to love you fiercely and support your dreams," Ivan said, holding both her hands. "I promise to never take you for granted and to remember every day how lucky I am to have found you. You are my home, Tessa. You are my purpose. You are everything." Tessa could barely speak through her emotion. "I promise to be your partner in all things. To challenge you and support you and love you through everything. You saw me when I was invisible to everyone else. You valued me when I did not value myself. I promise to spend my life showing you that you deserve all the love you never received growing up. You are worthy of everything good, Ivan. Never forget that." They kissed as husband and wife, and Tessa thought about the impossible journey that had brought them here. From housekeeper to wife, from invisible to cherished, from struggling to secure. Their honeymoon was 2 weeks in Italy, exploring cities and eating incredible food and making love in beautiful hotels. They talked about their future, about the family they wanted to build, about the life they were creating together. When they returned home, Tessa enrolled in business school. She had discovered a passion for organizational management and wanted to help Ivan with his real estate company. He was thrilled, immediately making space for her in his work and valuing her insights. In October, Tessa found out she was pregnant. They had not been actively trying, but they had not been preventing it either. When she showed Ivan the positive test, he picked her up and spun her around, laughing with pure joy. "We are having a baby," he kept repeating like he could not quite believe it. "We are going to be parents." Their daughter was born the following June, a healthy baby girl with Ivan's dark eyes and Tessa's smile. They named her Sarah Marie Hawthorne. Ivan cried when he held her for the first time, overwhelmed by love and responsibility and wonder. "I am going to be a good father," he promised Tessa as she recovered in the hospital bed. "I am going to give her everything I never had: love, security, presence." She's going to know she is valued every single day of her life. You are already a good father, Tessa said softly. Look at how you are holding her, like she is the most precious thing in the world. She is. She and you, my whole world in this room. They brought Sarah home to the penthouse suite, which they had converted into a real family home. The office became a nursery. They added family photos to the walls. It was not just Ivan's bachelor pad anymore. It was their home. Lily visited constantly, completely in love with her niece. She had graduated from the university with honors and was starting a teaching position at an elementary school in the fall. She credited Ivan and Tessa with making her dreams possible. "You two saved my life," she told them one evening while holding baby Sarah. "After Mom and Dad died, I was so lost. But Tessa never gave up on me, and then Ivan gave me opportunities I never could have imagined. This family is everything to me." Tessa looked around the room at the people she loved most. Lily rocking the baby, Ivan watching them with such tenderness, all of them together in this beautiful space. She thought about that morning almost 2 years ago when she had been assigned to clean the penthouse floor, exhausted and struggling and invisible. She thought about how Ivan had not noticed her for months, how she had been just another staff member doing her job. She thought about how close she had come to leaving before he ever really saw her, but he had noticed her eventually. On the day she was transferring out, when she was walking away, he had finally truly seen her. And that timing, that exact moment, had changed everything. If she had left without telling him the truth, if he had not stopped her at the door, if either of them had been slightly less brave, they would have missed this, all of this. The love, the family, the life they had built together. "What are you thinking about?" Ivan asked, coming to sit beside her on the couch. "Just how lucky we are, how easily we could have missed each other." He wrapped his arm around her shoulders and pulled her close. "We did not miss each other, though. We found each other exactly when we were supposed to. I was not ready for you before that moment. I had to see you leaving to realize what I was losing. Do you ever regret it? The life you had before, the simplicity of being alone?" "Never. Not once. You and Sarah are the best things that ever happened to me. This messy, complicated, beautiful life we have built is worth more than every dollar I have ever made. You taught me that success means nothing without people to share it with." Sarah started fussing, and Ivan immediately stood to take her from Lily. He walked her around the room, murmuring softly and gently bouncing. He was a natural father, patient and attentive in ways that still surprised Tessa sometimes. She watched her husband with their daughter and felt overwhelming gratitude for the job that had brought her to his floor, for the courage to tell him the truth, for his willingness to cross barriers of class and convention to fight for their relationship, for the love that had transformed both of their lives completely. Later that night, after Lily had gone home and Sarah was asleep in her nursery, Tessa and Ivan stood together at the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. The lights sparkled below them, the same view Tessa had cleaned around for months before everything changed. "Do you remember the first time I really talked to you?" Ivan asked, his arms around her waist from behind. "You thanked me for making the coffee, said Maria used to burn it. I had been trying to work up the courage to speak to you for weeks at that point. You were so beautiful and capable, and I felt like an awkward teenager trying to figure out how to get your attention." Tessa laughed and turned in his arms to face him. "You are one of the most powerful businessmen in the country. You negotiate multi-million-dollar deals daily. And you were nervous talking to me, terrified, because those deals do not matter, but you did. You mattered so much, and I did not want to mess it up." She reached up to cup his face, feeling the familiar scratch of his 5 o'clock shadow. "You did not mess anything up. You were perfect." "We were lucky. We were brave," she corrected. "We both took risks. We both chose each other even when it was complicated and scary. That was not luck. That was choice. Ivan kissed her deeply, the kind of kiss that still made her heart race after all this time. When they finally pulled apart, he rested his forehead against hers. "I love you, Tessa Hawthorne. I will love you until my last breath and probably beyond that. I love you too. Always." They stood there together as the city sparkled below them, two people who had found each other against all odds. A housekeeper and a billionaire. A woman working to survive, and a man who had forgotten how to live. They had saved each other in ways neither had expected, building a love story that was messy and unconventional and absolutely perfect. And it had all started the day he finally noticed her, the day she was leaving, the exact moment when everything could have ended before it began. But instead, it had been their beginning, the first page of a story that would last the rest of their lives. Sarah's soft cry came from the nursery, and they both moved automatically toward the sound. Ivan reached the crib first, lifting their daughter gently. Tessa watched them together, her heart full to bursting. This was her life now. This beautiful, impossible, wonderful life. And she had earned every moment of it through courage and honesty and the willingness to believe that she deserved good things. Years from now, she would tell Sarah the story of how her parents met. About the penthouse floor and the cleaning cart and the man who had been too busy building an empire to notice the woman making his life easier. About the day Tessa had almost walked away, and how her father had stopped her at the door with a confession that changed everything. She would tell her daughter that love required bravery, that it meant risking rejection and disappointment for the chance at something real. That timing mattered, but so did choice, that you had to fight for the people and things that mattered most. But for now, in this quiet moment, she simply stood with her husband and daughter in their home high above the city and felt grateful. For the twisting path that had led her here. For the courage to tell the truth when it mattered most. For the man who had seen her truly and loved what he found. For everything they had built together, and everything still to come. Their story was far from over. It was just beginning. Each day a new page filled with love and laughter and the everyday miracles of a life well lived. And Tessa knew, with absolute certainty, that she would not change a single moment of the journey that had brought them here, not the struggles or the fear or the uncertainty. Because all of it had been necessary to lead her to this exact place, this exact life, this exact love. She was no longer the invisible housekeeper cleaning a billionaire's suite. She was Tessa Hawthorne, wife and mother and partner. She was loved fiercely and completely. She was home. And as Ivan looked up from their daughter and smiled at her, that warm smile that was reserved only for her, Tessa smiled back and knew that some fairy tales really did come true. They just required courage and honesty, and the willingness to believe that you deserved your happy ending. She had found hers. Against all odds, despite every obstacle, she had found it, and she would spend the rest of her life grateful for the morning she had been assigned to the millionaire's floor, and for the day he had finally noticed her, just as she was walking away. Because that single moment of courage had given her everything, absolutely everything.